So right now, as I'm recording this audio, we are seeing a hockey game between Team Canada and Team Finland. This is honestly not gonna be much in my radar. Like, I got a big kick out of Canada-USA. It was a fun game, of course, but Canada-Finland at 10 a.m. PST in the morning? I've got things to do, baby. I'm still out here on vacation. Later today, with the American-Sweden game, we will have ourselves the Elias Pettersson versus JT Miller matchup, both of whom have 0 points on the tournament so far. However, Miller does have the fight with Colton Parayko, which put him on the map alongside of the Tkachuk brothers to bringing American patriotism back into the forefront. And Elias Pettersson doesn't have anything at this tournament so far either. It's been a really rough go for him. But we will see Sweden and the USA face off against each other. The US is already locked in for the final game, so who knows if an unmotivated American squad will be present here if Team Sweden can finally pull a victory off in this tournament. Is that possible? Who really knows? Anyways, sticking with the Vancouver angle, because Pettersson-Miller is going to be a topic for today, I wanted to dive into some of the conversations about the Canucks of the future, and an article that was published by Daniel Wagner on VancouverIsAwesome.com, which goes over one of the best young guys the Canucks have in their system. This show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel all in the process. This article will be linked in the description as well if you want to dive into it. Daniel Wagner posted this, when was it? February 12th, so 5 days ago. Canucks prospect Jonathan Lekkerimaki is a goal-scoring machine in the American Hockey League. Now, before we dive into the actual numbers themselves, before we take a look at Wag's hypothesis, let's just go over the profile, the numbers, and everything else we need to know. Jonathan Lekkerimaki is 20 years old, 5'11", 172, a right-handed guy, drafted by the Canucks in the 15th overall spot in the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. He was ranked higher by most outlets. He was ranked 8th by McKenzie, 9th by McKeens, 9th by Button, 12th by FC, and 18th by Elite Prospects themselves, so the Canucks got him at a little bit of a discount compared to the player's common consensus. Right now in the AHL, Jonathan Lekkerimaki has 25 points in 28 games played. He is right under a point per game, and he's gotten 17 goals on the year. Add to that 3 points and 2 goals in 11 NHL games, and you have yourselves a player, a young guy at 20, who is doing some pretty good work. His stint in the AHL this time around, though, has been awesome. Ever since the midpoint of January, Lekkerimaki has 8 points in his last 7 games played, with 5 of those points being goals. So, pretty good numbers here for a guy that is 20 years old, and Daniel Wagner went out there and spoke about these specific numbers in this article. He is on pace for 31 goals in 53 AHL games this season. Mark that up to 32 because this article was written before he had gotten the 2 goals in a row last week. Wags writes this: just how impressive is Jonathan Lekkerimaki's goal-scoring pace? Consider this. Lekkerimaki is scoring goals in the AHL at a higher rate than Thomas Vanek, Claude Giroux, Kyle Connor, and Jason Robertson did at the same age. It's the 4th highest goals per game pace by a 20-year-old in the AHL in the last 20 years. That's just a sampling of the stars that had comparable goal scoring to Lekkerimaki in the AHL at the age of 20. The list of players with similar goal scoring is littered with quality NHL players: Kyle Palmieri, Josh Norris, Logan Stankoven, Tyler Toffoli, Marcus Granlund, Logan Couture, Dylan Strome, etc. Not bad. Now, a lot of these guys are great NHL players. A lot of these guys were fantastic NHL players. The guys that Lekkerimaki is scoring more than, Vanek, Giroux, Connor Robertson, oh my gosh, what a sample. That's an incredible set of guys to be producing better goal numbers than at 20 years old. Now, the interesting thing, and why I like this article so much, is that if you go over to Elite Prospects, even with the premium Elite Prospects filters, it's hard to find a specific stat that goes out there and illuminates the same idea. There isn't a goals per game metric stat on elite prospects, there's only points per game. So you're going to have to go out there and look at the other guys who had produced assists and everything else to find Jonathan Lekkerimaki on the list. It's not really all too great, but still it's there, so we can't dispute too hard. But Jonathan Lekkerimaki being in a similar goal production rate as guys like Claude Giroux, Kyle Connor, and Robertson does shift the narrative a little bit as to just how great his goal scoring is. The article then dives into the Lekkerimaki style, how some of his goal scoring has come from being in the right place at the right time. His first AHL goal, for example, was just a case of a rebound popping out to him on the power play with an open net. But there is an art to being in the right place at the right time, and some of Lekkerimaki's goals illustrate that he has no qualms about getting to the front of the net and taking some punishment in the process. Goals number 8 to 10 are all a result of Lekkerimaki showing quick hands to control a rebound or deflected puck in front of the net. The most eye-catching goals, of course, are the ones where Lekkerimaki simply beats a goalie with his shot. That's the case in his 2nd, 5th, 11th, and 15 goals in the AHL, and both of his goals in the NHL. He has shown that his hands are good enough for more than just shooting the puck, as his dekes on 2 breakaway goals, his 6th and his 7th goals, have simply been sublime. More than that, his 6th goal showed some of his defensive game, as he's the only one who stole the puck in the neutral zone to create the breakaway. The article does go into a very deep dive as to the variety of goals that he's able to score, but as Wags very so eloquently does, he goes out there and also tempers expectations. Before getting too high on Lekkerimaki, some perspective is necessary. While he is scoring at a higher rate than several players who went on to become NHL stars, there are players who scored at a similar rate at that age who haven't done much at the NHL level. There are players like Luke Adam and Nick Berkly who can never quite translate their scoring to the National Hockey League. Or someone like Daniel Sprong, who can clearly score in the NHL but has too many other flaws in his game. It's interesting here because the closest comparable that Wags articulates is Jack Quinn of the Buffalo Sabres, a similarly first-round pick who had scored 26 goals and 61 points in 45 AHL games as a 20-year-old, a nearly identical goal-scoring pace to Lekkerimaki, though he has tallied more assists. And unfortunately for Jack Quinn, he is not really doing the best this season with the Buffalo Sabres. He is one of many guys that I think his name has sort of been loosely thrown around there as potential trade bait for the Sabres. It's not ideal, but he's doing okay. I mean, he's half a point a game, just under it, so maybe there is some extra growth that Quinn can go through. 23 years old after all, so he is sort of becoming more of what he is at the NHL level. But at the end of the day, Wags writes here in the article that the kind of shot rate that Lekkerimaki has, more than anything else, suggests that he has a legitimate NHL future. It's not just that he's scoring goals, but that he's consistently putting himself in a position to get shots on net. That NHL future might not be this season, but there's reason to believe it's not too far off. Now, based off of this article, which the link is going to be in the description if you want to dive into it yourself, what do you think the potential ceiling is for Jonathan Lekkerimaki and his future? I'm going to go out there and say that at his best, he could be a consistent 25 to 30 goal guy who maybe gets 20 to 25 assists per season, a power play triggerman who can get enough goals to establish himself as a top 6 scoring threat with a shot and with a nice net front ability. There's variety in the way Lekkerimaki is able to produce his points and score his goals, which is kind of an issue with the Vancouver Canucks right now. They do need some extra goal scoring support. Brock Boeser is, let's just say, maybe not fully in that same territory like he was last season, and realistically, I mean, his future with the team is not guaranteed in the slightest. If you trade away Boeser, you thrust in Lekkerimaki, and you go with whatever return you get from a Brock Boeser, like an extra center or something, keeping the decor the same way it is as well, add on Tom Willander, for example, from the BU Terriers when he signs, then you could be looking at a pretty good team in the short-term future. But of course, Lekerimaki's a young guy, Willander's a young guy. These are prospects more suited for the long term. So for now, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the long-term projectability of Jonathan Lekkerimaki and his skill set? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.